So now we're going to our tech department. It's about technology, product, solutions, and everything in the light of the global trends. I hope we have some local trends as well. I'm looking to my left, as I already see Thomas King with me, standing next to me. And Thomas King, our CTO, he will then now taking over and giving us an insight on the technology innovations in DECIX. And yeah, Thomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Very warm welcome also from my side. I want to show you a bit what we are working on and how we implement the strategy Ivo just showed you, and where he stopped, I want to take it over. So we're currently doing a geographical expansion, and I want to show you how we implement that with our DECIX as a service product. On the second pillar of this strategy, we have the interconnection services, and I want to show you which kind of interconnection services we have recently introduced and which one we are currently working on. And then last but not least is how we make that easier for you to consume this interconnection services globally. And let me get started with our geographical expansion and the DECIX as a service product, how we call it. So in 2013, we started an internet exchange in Dubai, which is not owned by DECIX. It's owned by DoDataMena, our partner over there, and we are just running it for them. Back then, it was a product. It wasn't a product for us. It was just a project. So it took us a while to implement that, and we realized that customers were coming to us, or potential customers at that time, and asking for us, could you run an internet exchange for me? Because I'm a data center operator, or I'm a network operator, and could you have a product for me to do this? And so we started looking into DECIX as a service, because we want to provide the whole ecosystem, which we are currently running already globally, to our data center and network operators who want to run their own internet exchange. And this is what we call DECIX as a service. And let me briefly give you an overview on what kind of services that consists of. And then I'll dig a little bit deeper into the technical details, how we deliver that. And it starts with our deployment and operations. So what we do is we have blueprints for that. So we have standardized how we can deploy internet exchanges and cloud exchanges all over the world. We don't need to touch them anymore. So in terms of DECIX, engineers don't need to touch them. It can be remote hands-only deployments if needed. And of course, then after the deployment is done, we have our great DECIX NOC, which then makes sure 24/7 that this interconnection platform is run successfully. That's the deployment and the operations part. But of course, we have also our very strong marketing team, which can provide marketing activities to help sell these new internet exchanges, which are owned by data center operators or network providers. And the same is true for the sales department, because our salespeople are already talking to the networks all over the world to connect to DECIX platforms. So it's very easy for them to also talk to these networks, to connect to the internet exchanges, which we run on behalf of our customers. And after a customer is signed up for being connected to one of these DECIX as a service internet exchanges, of course, the DECIX customer service, which is well-known, performant in terms of how quickly we can turn up customers, and also with our processes, then can connect with customers and provide the interconnection services. And if there is a hiccup and troubleshooting is needed, then this particular customer service team is also available 24/7 to help the networks, making sure that the interconnection services are restored instantly. And it doesn't stop here. We also have administrational support for all kind of contract management, caching, billing, and clearing if needed, which is also super important for our DECIX as a service customers, is that we can provide in detail statistics and reports for everything that's going on the technical side, but also on the business side, how well the interconnection platform, which provides internet exchange and cloud exchange services, is growing. This is how we have started with our DECIX as a service product, and we just deployed 3 of these internet exchanges globally. We started last year with CTIX in Athens. We then did DECIX here in the German Ruhr area just in the beginning of this year, and shortly later we started Bormio IX in Bormio. And I want to dig a little bit deeper technically how we actually do that. We call that DECIX in a box, because what we do is actually we put all the hardware which is needed to run a DECIX as a service in this case into one box and ship it. And actually, we don't need to touch this box anymore. Actually, we get the hardware pre-configured from our partners, and then it is directly sent to the final destination for deployment with remote hands provided by our partners on site. We also changed the server and the management network infrastructure so that we can easily deploy this kind of gears. And we have come up with blueprints which make it very easy for us to select the right size of the hardware for the needs customers might have to run their ecosystem in their market. And this we did to drive down the deployment times. For instance, for DECIX, which we started in the first quarter of this year, the deployment time was only 5 weeks from when the hardware was available until the RFS date of this interconnection platform. And we had first customers connecting the internet exchange and cloud exchange after 5 weeks. I think that's very impressive if you compare that, how long it took earlier on providing this kind of services. But now, I just showed you how we can drive geographical expansion. Now I want to switch a bit into the interconnection services which we can provide globally. And let's have a look into what we are doing here. You probably are very well aware of the DECIX service world, which means we have one access port, how we call it. That's a physical connection to the DECIX network. It might come as a 1GE, 10GE, 100G, or also 400GE port. This allows you then, if you have this physical connection in place, this allows you to then add additional interconnection services on top of it. Traditionally, these are the peering services, like our local peering service, which we call GloPeer, or the remote peering service, which is called GloPeer Remote, which comes with security features like black holing and black holing advanced to mitigate DDoS, massive DDoS attacks on layer 3 and layer 4. But not only by blocking traffic, but also by rate limiting it. I think we have a very strong value proposition there. But if you go a step further, you look into the data center interconnects, and here we have our virtual P&I product, which provide a virtual VLAN, so VLAN actually, between any site where we run DECIX locations, and we are globally available today at 28 locations, and most of them are interconnected. And just to give you a number, for instance, in New York, we are available with our own gear in already 14 data centers, and in Frankfurt in 37. So you can directly run VLANs throughout this network easily. And we just added a new service class, which we call DECIX Advanced Peering Service, which comes with direct routes, which is essentially paid peering, and with the maps service, which I wanna go a little bit deeper into in the next couple of minutes. And finally, I want to tackle the cloud exchange business, where we provide direct cloud to directly connect to the hyperscalers and other 50 plus cloud service providers, and a new product which we call Cloud Router. I want to give you insights into that as well. So let's start with Maps. What is Maps? So Maps is a tool or a product actually, which we designed together with Microsoft, and which was presented during the last Ignite event from Microsoft. And it allows to have a high quality connection into Microsoft 365. So if you look at the Microsoft infrastructure, they have the Microsoft Azure cloud and the Microsoft 365 cloud, where Teams and hosted Exchange is running. And then we have Internet Exchange like DECIX in the middle, right? And we have an enterprise who is consuming the services from Microsoft. And now let me show you what kind of interconnection solutions are in place and how they can be used to connect to Microsoft. So first of all, we have the traditional peering, which we call GloPeer, which allows an enterprise to directly connect to Microsoft with all the advantages and disadvantages of peering. And we have the direct cloud access for Microsoft Azure if the workload of the enterprise is so important that it wants to have a dedicated, secure connection into the cloud. And now Maps brings together the advantages of both of the solutions in such a way that we have dedicated connection into Microsoft 365. So if there is a routing hiccup or a DDoS attack in the internet, it doesn't matter, it will not be affected by this. And on the other hand, it uses the traditional peering technologies to make that happen. So it's very easy to deploy and very easy to use, but super secure. And this is exactly where what is the benefit of Maps. So it provides low latency, high bandwidth access to the Microsoft 365 cloud. It comes with a telemetry package, and that's actually pretty nice because Microsoft runs some monitoring tests in their cloud against the CPE at the enterprise, and it gives you statistics and alarms if something is going wrong there. And last but not least, it's coming with an API and a self-service portal. Now, let's go a step further and cover the cloud router because that supports multi-cloud scenarios for enterprises. Let's assume there's an enterprise connected to Microsoft Azure, and it is also consuming AWS services, and the workload needs to talk to each other because data needs to be transferred from one point to the other. The easiest way in doing that is having a DECIX cloud router available, which then transfers the data between the two clouds, and the cloud router is virtualized and provided as a service by DECIX. And this is something we are currently working on. We have already some proof of concept customers working with us on this, and it will be generally available in 2022. So now let's go a step further and look on how we provide this kind of services. And I want to briefly touch the API which we provide as DECIX, the DECIX API, which is based on the DECIX API. And it's something which we have worked on with DECIX, Links, Interaction, and Epsilon, and we already do that for 2 years. So I don't want to repeat that here, and just move on and give you an insight into what is the beauty of having an API, a common API for the internet exchanges. And it's mainly about speed and being able to deliver on-demand interconnection services for our customers, reducing the sources of error, because when we can take out manual work and automate it, then it's super easy to make sure it works all the time. And we can reduce the cost to implement this API as we as an industry support this DECIX API. And of course, also other internet service providers and interconnection providers can use that. So it's very easy for them to come up with an API themselves. They don't need to think a long time about an API themselves. And finally, and that's actually what we want to achieve, right, is that we free up the precious time of our network engineers so that they can spend their time on more pressing and more important tasks. And let me briefly give you an overview where we stand with our DECIX API based on the DECIX API. We have worked on heavily on version 1, which covers peering, and version 2, which covers cloud connectivity mainly, next to our virtual PNI or cloud-to-cloud connectivity. And currently we are working very hard together with Interaction on a cloud router extension specification, which is more or less done. And then on the DECIX API side, we will introduce monitoring statistics later in 2022 in version 3. And we at DECIX, we are going API first. And this is why we have started our implementation of the customer portal with self-service features. And I don't want to go down too much this road, because later today, there is a great presentation from Markus, our head of software, who will give you a demo of the new self-service features which we have worked on, which we released today to you. And I'm very proud what the team has achieved here. So please don't miss it. Go there, be there on time and listen what Markus has to say, and log in yourself and see what we have done. It's really tremendous. I think it's a gorgeous thing which we have put into place here. So let me finish here with my cliffhanger picture. And before I close, let me briefly introduce you to the team, to the engineering team who is making all that happening. And I want to briefly highlight the different people here, because usually when we met face-to-face for this kind of technical meetings, you usually had a hallway discussion with them anyway, right? And as some of you are new here in this audience, let me briefly introduce them. They are around. Please talk to them. Please have a chat. And they can answer you all the questions. For instance, I just pick 3 here so that you have an impression what they do. Jan Stumpf is the corporate IT security guy, making sure everything is operated securely here at DECIX. We have Rob Parker as he is leading network design, and also our infrastructures in North America. And we have Bernhard, who is globally taking care of our infrastructures and operations. So if you have questions, please go and see them, talk to them, make it as interactive as you want, and don't be shy. They don't bite, I promise. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for listening, and I return to Andreas.
Hey, Thomas, exciting. I'm happy that we have recorded this, because with all the information packed into this few minutes, hey, I don't know how to keep all this information together. Thank you very much for this really comprehensive overview. I'm personally very excited about the API stuff, and of course of the presentation at 5:15 for the one thing we do for the customer portal.